What happens when supermarkets run out of food? Not forever, just tomorrow. No warning, no time to prepare. Maybe a storm took out the supply chain, maybe a strike, maybe something nobody saw coming, the way nobody really saw 2020 coming until the shelves were already empty. Here's the question worth sitting with. How many days could your household actually eat on what you have right now? I remember doing this audit myself and looking past the half-empty jars of mustard and the old crackers and realizing with a very dry throat that I had about 48 hours of real nutrition. That realization is a wake-up call. I want you to be honest in the comments, no judgment. If the store's closed right now, how many days do you actually have? Is it 2, 5, 10? Seeing that number written down is the first step to changing it. For most households, so that answer is somewhere between 2 and 4 days, and by day 3, the stress of that reality hits in a way that's hard to describe until you've felt it. I'm going to show you exactly how to change that, and before the end of this video, I'll share one specific method that most home growers never consider, and that makes the whole system far more sustainable than anything you'd find in a typical prepper guide. This scenario isn't as far-fetched as it sounds. In 2021, supply chain breakdowns left store shelves partially empty for weeks across the country. In 2022, grocery bills jumped over 11% in a single year, the steepest climb in 4 decades. Eggs, produce, basics, things that were just always there, suddenly weren't, or suddenly cost significantly more. Sorry and the families who felt that the least weren't the ones who had gone out and panic-bought everything they could carry. They were the ones who had already been building something at home. Regular people. People who had just decided at some point that handing 100% of their food security to a supply chain was a risk they could actually do something about. I remember when that idea first clicked for me. I'd always assumed that growing your own food was something that required land, experience, and a lifestyle most people don't have. But when I started looking into how ordinary families were actually doing this, in real backyards, on real budgets, what I found was pretty different from what I expected. If that kind of practical content is what you're here for, go ahead and subscribe. And that's exactly what this channel is built around every week. So here's the framework that actually works, and it runs on 3 layers: grow, store, and preserve. You don't need all 3 running perfectly at once, but understanding how they connect changes how you think about the whole thing. The first instinct a lot of people have is to focus entirely on storage. Buy canned goods, stack them in a closet, and feel prepared. And having a solid pantry does matter, but here's the problem with stopping there. Every time you pull something off that shelf, your supply shrinks and nothing replaces it. That's not a system, that's a countdown. The moment you add something that produces, the entire equation changes. Even a small growing space, a 4x4 raised bed, a few containers on a porch, can generate a consistent supply of fresh food. Our radishes are ready in 25 days, lettuce in 30, green onions regrow from kitchen scraps in about 3 weeks. You don't have to wait for a full harvest season to start eating from your own space. That alone reframes the whole idea of being prepared. When it comes to what to grow first, the answer is simpler than most gardening content makes it sound. Leafy greens, spinach, kale, lettuce are fast, nutrient-dense, and grow in almost any container. One healthy tomato plant with decent sun and water will produce somewhere between 10 and 15 pounds of fruit in a season. Herbs look small but replace a surprising amount of what a family spends at the store over a year. And beans and zucchini are probably the most productive plants per square foot that a beginner can grow reliably. The goal isn't to feed your entire family from the backyard. The goal is to build a consistent layer of production that reduces how much you depend on the store, and that keeps generating food even when supply chains don't. A lot of people assume that growing food and storing food are 2 separate activities, something you do in different seasons, almost like switching modes. But the families who build the most resilient systems treat them as one continuous process. When your lettuce produces more than you can eat this week, that's exactly when the preservation layer kicks in. The growing feeds the storage extends the growing. And suddenly you're not just prepared for a disruption, you're running a small functional food system. And that leads into the part most beginner growers skip entirely, which also happens to be the piece that makes or breaks the whole thing. Growing food is only useful if you can make it last. A lot of people get to this point and hit a wall. The concept makes sense, the motivation is there, but organizing it all into something that actually works in their specific space feels overwhelming. I've been there too, staring at a patch of dirt with good intentions and no clear starting point. I wasted a lot of time and money trying to wing it. That's actually why I ended up looking into the backyard miracle farm system. It's a done-for-you blueprint that takes exactly what we're covering in this video and lays it out as a clear, step-by-step system built for people who want real results without spending months figuring it out on their own. If you're curious how it works, I'll leave the link in the pinned comment below. So, preservation. 3 methods handle the vast majority of what a home garden produces, and none of them require expensive equipment. Freezing is the easiest starting point. Blanch your vegetables for a couple of minutes, freeze them flat on a tray, then bag them. Most will last 8 to 12 months. Fermenting sounds intimidating, but it's really just salt, water, a jar, and time. Sauerkraut, pickles, fermented salsa, no special gear required. And here's something worth knowing. Fermented vegetables often end up more nutritious than fresh ones because the fermentation process increases the bioavailability of certain vitamins. Your body actually absorbs more from fermented food than from the same vegetable eaten raw. And dehydrating, a basic food dehydrator runs around $40 and turns herbs, fruits, and vegetables into shelf-stable food that lasts 1 to 2 years. The caloric density you get from dehydrated food, relative to how little space it takes up, is one of the better deals in home food storage. If you want a full video going deep on any of these preservation methods specifically, drop it in the comments. That tells me exactly what to cover next. Now here's the method I mentioned at the beginning, the one most home growers never consider. It's called companion planting, and the basic idea is that certain plants actively help each other grow when placed together. Basil planted near tomatoes repels specific insects that damage the fruit. Beans fix nitrogen in the soil, which feeds whatever you plant next to them. Marigolds along the border of a raised bed reduce pest pressure across the entire garden. The evidence for this comes from agricultural research, and it means you can get more output from the same space without adding fertilizers or spending more time maintaining it. A small backyard system using companion planting principles can produce meaningfully more food than the same space planted randomly. That's the detail most beginner guides skip completely. Companion planting is one of those topics that goes pretty deep the more you look into it. If you want a full video breaking all of that down, let me know in the comments. That's how I decide what to cover next. Here's the image I want to leave you with. 2 neighbors, same street, same town. A disruption hits, doesn't matter what kind. One of them opens the fridge and feels that quiet weight of watching the options run out. The other walks out to the backyard. Picks what they need and goes back inside to make dinner. That gap didn't happen because one of them was more capable or had more resources. It happened because one of them decided to start before they needed to. The system isn't complicated. A small growing space, a few high-return crops, a preservation habit that runs alongside the harvest, and 1 or 2 smart choices about how you plant. That's the foundation. And every small step you build on top of it makes the next disruption, whatever form it takes, a little less powerful over your life. You don't have to do it all at once. You just have to begin. But here's the thing. Most people recognize this risk and try to plant something, but 99% of them end up wasting their space by doing it the wrong way. In my next video, I'm going to show you exactly what that 1% is doing to build a real system in their backyard. You won't want to miss that one. Welcome to the Prepared Backyard. This is where we start. Every video on this channel is built around one idea, that ordinary people with ordinary backyards can take back more control over what they eat than most of us were ever taught to believe. If that sounds like your kind of channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're the first to know when that next video drops. Drop your city in the comments, and if you want a clear system to put all of this into practice right now, the Backyard Miracle Farm system is linked in the pinned comment below. I'll see you in the next one.